13 fun projects. Welcome to M.A.G.G.I.E Art, my very first art challenge. I hope you're going to join me, and I hope you're going to have a heap of fun. During the month you might learn some new techniques, or you might reacquaint yourself with some that you've forgotten about, and we just want to have a lot of fun, throw it all at the page, create something that is uniquely you in your art journal. Hi arty friends, it's Lee here. Big welcome or welcome back to my channel. So from the title screen you would have seen that this is a challenge that I just wanted to do something for myself rather than to be following everybody else's challenges. And I find that I create more when I do have a challenge to do. So I hope that this will help you to get into a habit of, if not doing something every day, at least every couple of days. And what we're going to do for the M.A.G.G.I.E 2024 art challenge is just awaken some new ideas, get you thinking outside the square, have you try things that you haven't tried before, and just use a little bit of imagination to come up with some unique pieces of art. The only thing that you need to play along is lots of enthusiasm and some art supplies. So it doesn't matter what you're making, what you're doing, what you're going to use. You don't have to do what I do. You can do whatever you like. You can interpret the prompts however you like. And let's get on with this, and welcome to day one. The prompt for today is star sign. And I'm a Sagittarius, so I looked up some of the traits of Sagittarius, what favourite colours apply to Sagittarians or Sagittariuses, however you say it. And the colours that they listed were orange, yellow, purple and blue. And I thought, well, yeah, I love orange and purple together, and orange and yellow and purple together. So I thought I would use those colours to create my little piece of art. So I'm doing this in my handmade art journal. So this page that I'm working on is made from a grocery bag, or part of a grocery bag. And I have gessoed the paper to begin with, and now I'm just applying some book page. I want to try and build up the thickness of this paper. I like big chunky thick pages, and I'm getting some gesso and then some paper and then more paper is going to help with getting a nice thick page. What I've got here is a piece of paper napkin. I've taken the other layers off it and I'm sticking some of that down. I'm using matte medium to glue this down. So I'll put a few pieces of this on, and then I'll get some other pieces of gel prints I think I'll use, and glue them down as well. If you want to get a list of the prompts, I've put them in my video description box. There's also a link there to a document that you can actually print off. So there's the information sheet as well as the list of prompts there in my video description box. So you can do as many of these as you like. You can do them in any order you like. The order that's on the sheet is the order that I'm going to be doing them. Interpret them however you like. Use whatever medium you like. You don't have to do what I'm doing. I'm just fulfilling my own desire to create something with that prompt. So the reason I'm doing this challenge is, I do other people's challenges all the time, and I really wanted to do something arty. When I did Junk Journal January, I did it as an art journal rather than a junk journal, and I really enjoyed doing that. I hadn't done any painting for ages, and doing that challenge in an art journal rather than as a junk journal It really awakened my desire to use my paints and to get a little bit more creative, to create pieces of art rather than pieces of ephemera and books. I still do love junk journaling, don't get me wrong, I'm still doing that, but for the moment I'm hooked on painting, gel printing, and just creating something that stands alone as a piece of art. So if you find yourself in that sort of situation where you get stuck in a rut, really, I suppose, doing the same thing over and over, try doing something different and, just create with reckless abandon, as they say. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of fun. So now I'm putting down some gel print. So I liked this one because of the colour. It's got some greens and blues and it's got metallic in it. And once I get some papers down and get this page built up a bit, I'm going to start using paint over the top. A lot of this will be covered over, as it happens when you're doing a mixed media piece of art. A lot of the bottom layer is covered up and never to be seen again. But then again, there are glimpses of it showing through at the end. So it's just part of the process. Enjoy it and just trust the process of doing it. But you might want to do your star sign in a completely different way to what I'm doing. I find too, when I'm doing a challenge, I work better. Like I sort of work better under pressure. Like when I do like the Junk Journal July and Junk Journal January, I absolutely thrive on that urgency to create something that the challenge gives me. I work better under pressure, and I thoroughly enjoy doing the challenges, which is why I've done it. I think I've done it for 3 years now. I can't remember. The first time I didn't do it on film. I just posted my images onto my Instagram page. But so I find the challenge beneficial. Yeah, I know some people have said that they feel that they're not being themselves, or they're not creating their own things when they're doing a challenge because they have a prompt list. Well, I don't look at it that way. I see it completely differently. My aim is to try and create something that nobody else is going to do. It's not, and I sort of feel that it's not something that I do consciously. It just happens. And so I don't know whether that's because I'm a Sagittarian. I don't know. But anyway, that's what happens. I get the prompt, and I never look at what other people have done. Like when I'm doing one of those other challenges, I never look at what anyone else has done, especially not the person that's running the challenge. I never do that. I always ignore their videos, and I might watch them after I've done my own. And sometimes I'll think, oh my goodness, I've completely thought the wrong thing of that prompt. But they're just prompts. They're just to give you a starting point. And nobody's going to, if you got 20 people, they're all going to come up with something different. So, look, never feel that you should be creating the same things as everybody else. You just do what you want to do. So I'm applying some acrylic paints now. So I've got my purples and blues, and I'm trying to make a dark colour up in this corner because I sort of wanted this to have like a celestial, or what's the word for it? Galactic, like a galaxy type feel to it. I don't think it ends up that way, but that was where I was going. A lot of what I'm doing is just intuitive too. Like I just start doing stuff and other ideas come to me. I pretty much generally start a page, a mixed media page, in the same way, with either gesso and then some collage, or collage and then gesso on top. And sometimes I'll use I'll do 3 or 4 layers, and then I'll use some transparent gesso over the top, especially if there's something underneath that is delicate, like those papers. So I don't know if you can see that, but where that dark corner is, if you just come over a little bit where the tissue, the napkin was, it's sort of gone wrinkly, and I love that texture that's created there. Um, the paint has run into the wrinkles, and yeah, I think that's really attractive. That floats my boat. So yeah, it's really nice. I didn't expect that to happen. So one of those serendipitous little things, a Bob Ross happy accident perhaps. But yeah, I love the way that looks. I love drips and runs and splatters in my artwork, so you'll see me doing that quite often. Because this page is really wet, I'm using a paper towel just to blot some of the wetness away from it. And it's also taking some of the paint off, so I'm getting a more of a, like a patchy look there. So the next thing I'm putting in is some white gesso, and I'm just scraping a bit over the page with my painting knife, and then I'll actually get a stencil and put a little bit of stenciling on there with the gesso. Because I'm using a really big knife and the page is quite uneven underneath, I'm not getting a really sharp image under the stencil, and I really like that. And what you saw me do there was just to get rid of the excess paint from the stencil without adding some more in. I decided to smush this gesso around that I put on with the knife with my fingers, using the finger brush. And where I put the paint through the stencil, just there, I end up just making some swooshes from that stenciling off to the side of the page. So I was trying to make it look like that stenciling was flying in from the edge of the page. You'll see what I'm talking about in a couple of seconds. So just there. So I'm trying to add some movement to, so that's, I don't know, in my mind that's coming in off the edge of the page. It's flying into the page. And some of those marks at the top of that stenciling actually look like little birds. So I like that effect. So I've dried it off, and now I'm going to add some orange. So I'm not going to use a lot of orange. I don't want it to be too overpowering. Just that contrasting colour against the purple, I think looks beautiful. And I will go over it a couple of times because it's quite a transparent colour and I want it to stand out. So that paint that I'm using right now is a Winsor & Newton. Can't think what the actual grade of it is, but it's a student paint, I believe. So I bought them ages ago. I've been trying to use them all up, and you get stuck with colours that you don't really use a lot of, like orange and lime green, that sort of thing. So mixed media is a perfect place to use the colours that you don't normally use. The brush that I'm using is a flat brush, and it's about 1/2 inch wide. And I didn't pick it for any other reason other than it was the first thing I got my hands on. But when I was talking before about being able to still see bits of the collage and that sort of thing, you can see the book page underneath, and you can still see the gel prints as well. For now, anyway. There's going to be a bit more on this page, so they may get covered up. Oh, yeah, and I just turned the light on in case you were wondering why. All of a sudden it got nice and bright. It's one of those days, where you've got the odd cloud passing over, so it's bright enough, and then all of a sudden you realise, oh, it's gotten dark, so I've turned the light on. Galleria, that was the name of that paint, Winsor Newton Galleria. Now my yellow is going to be this gel print here, and I'm going to stamp onto it and then glue my flowers onto the page. So I'll also cut out a couple of circles, like with a circle punch, and I've got another stamp that I'll use on a different piece of paper. It's a music sheet that's had it's been gel printed on. My stamps, if you were wondering, they're just cheap ones from Temu. So I've got all my stamped images and my circles punched out, and they're just sitting on the page on the right hand side. So I thought I'd get my Posca pen, so I've got a white one, and I'm just doing a little bit of writing over here, and I'm writing Sagittarius and the dates of Sagittarius, which is the 22nd of November to the 21st of December. And then I'll also write some of the character traits of the Sagittarian person across the page. That'll get mostly covered over, but you'll see hints of white writing in amongst the other things that are on the page. I have to keep shaking my pen, it's just about run out, this one, so that's what I'm doing when you see my hand disappear. So I'll add in a little bit of Islamic writing into here as well. And then I'm going to take my little yellow pieces of paper there and work out where I want them to be on the page. Once I got my composition sort of in my head of where I wanted the flowers to go, so starting up the top right hand corner and sweeping towards the middle, I decided that I want to put the symbol for Sagittarius on the page. I forgot to turn the camera on, didn't I? So so this is one of the symbols for Sagittarius. I've painted it with white gesso, and now I'm going over it with this gold, which is really, really translucent. I don't like it, and it doesn't have much substance at all, so I will get a different gold and go over that a bit later on. I'm using M.A.G.G.I.E medium to adhere my pieces to the page. I'm finding this isn't working so well, this M.A.G.G.I.E. I don't know whether there's anything wrong with it, whether it's old. I have had it for quite some time, but in some instances I just can't get it to stick to the page. Having said that, since I have left the book and not done any work on it for the last couple of days, everything is stuck down securely now, so maybe it's just because of the residual moisture that's in the page from the paints and water, etc., etc. But so just for the time being, I found it a little bit challenging. So when I did the stamping on this paper, I used a permanent ink, archival ink, so it's not going to be affected by the wet glue going over the top, the medium I should say. So that one I'm going to let hang off the page, and I'll trim it off a bit later on. This is that other gold paint. It's way more opaque. I really like it. So maybe that first layer adds to this top layer being, looking better. Probably does. But so I'm painting it over my Sagittarian symbol. And then I'll run the paintbrush out of paint by just putting a few marks here and there on the page rather than rinse it all out. I prefer to use it up, and there's quite a bit of paint in that brush. You'd be surprised what's in the brush. And that colour that I'm putting on there now is Naples yellow. So it's a nice opaque coloured paint, light yellow. Just a little bit of mark making around the place. I do put some dots above the flowers to sort of, what was I trying to achieve? I was trying to make it look like it has, I don't know, aroma coming off them or something. See, that piece of paper then just came straight off on my finger. When I went to push it down, it came up. And that's what I was talking about when I said the M.A.G.G.I.E medium didn't seem to be sticking very well. It's still there now, so this is 2 or 3 days since I painted, and nothing has fallen off. So I've got my paint shaper, which is a silicone paintbrush, and I'm going to use that to put some more marks around the page. I love to have my little lines, which you would know if you've been watching me play with my paints for a while. When I do a mixed media page, I like to do that. So when I'm putting these lines across the top, I'm varying the length of them, so making some of them shorter than others. And I just noticed those dots up the top there. I don't remember seeing them before, so maybe I accidentally cut out some footage, or I didn't turn the camera on. I think I might have trimmed it out, but yeah, I've got some dots up there. Appeared like magic. And I've got all those blue paints on my little piece of paper that I'm using as a palette, and some black paint as well, and I'm just using a bit of that up to put some dots and other marks on the page. And of course we've got to have some splattering. So this is the gold paint. Trying to use it up rather than discard it. And we've got some white gesso. And just a little bit of that orange paint. I'm loving the way these colours are all working together, and I totally get that they are favourite colours for the Sagittarius person. So I will edge the page in black crayon, so it's a water soluble crayon. So I'll go around the page with that, and I'll also put some around the arrow symbol, just to lift it off the page a bit. When you put this black edge around your page, or an edge of some sort around your page, it helps you to decide whether your page is actually finished or not. I do sometimes add it in early in the piece, but yeah, this time it's right at the end. And if I like the way the page looks once the border's around it, well then, I mean, it's finished for me then. Sometimes I do it and I think, oh no, we need to put a little bit more, it just doesn't look complete. But in this case, apart from the black around the arrow, I think it looks pretty good. If you're going to play along with me and do these projects, and you're posting on social media of any sort, please tag me so I can see what you've done. I love to see what you've made and how I've inspired somebody to create something that just makes my day. That's the perfect result of a video for me. Also, if you have a YouTube channel yourself and you're playing along, don't forget to use that hashtag. So hashtag M.A.G.G.I.E. And if you include a link to my channel in your video description box, I'll do the same for you, and I'll add your video into my playlist. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope it has inspired you to let your hair down and have a go at throwing a heap of paint, what have you, at the page, and create something that you're going to love yourself. And yeah, so in the meantime, keep creating, and I'll see you for the next video in this series. So the next one is family, vintage, old times, something like that. So hugs and cheers from Australia. Hooroo for now. Bye.